Hello, my name is Luke Riggins. This is San Diego's Segregation and Urban Regeneration, a historical and future overview. Today, I will be presenting an overview of how public policies in San Diego, California have shaped segregation and separation, as well as what is being done to address these issues today. We will look into the history of segregation in the city, including redlining and other policies, and explore current urban regeneration efforts aimed to reduce inequality. The history of segregation in San Diego. San Diego, like many other American cities, have a long history of public policies that promoted segregation. One of the most significant factors was redlining. Starting in the 1930s, the Homeowners Loan Corporation issued maps that marked neighborhoods based on racial and ethnic composition. Neighborhoods with higher populations of Black, Latino, and Asian residents were deemed high risk and colored in red on maps. This directly influenced who could get loans for mortgages and home repairs. As a result, communities like Logan Heights, Barrio Logan, and City Heights were systematically excluded from financial opportunities and urban development. Now we'll look at the impact of redlining and urban planning. The practice of redlining doesn't just affect the access to home ownership, it also leads to long-lasting economic disadvantages for these neighborhoods. In the mid-20th century, the construction of major freeways like Interstate 5 and the 805 further exacerbated segregation. These freeways were built through historically undeserved communities like Logan Heights and Barrio Logan, dividing them from more affluent parts of the city. The construction displaced families and limited access to essential services, jobs, and quality schools, reinforcing economic and racial divides. Other policies enforcing segregation. In addition to redlining and freeway construction, several other policies explicitly enforced segregation in San Diego, including racial zoning laws and restrictive covenants. These were direct tools of segregation that sought to keep neighborhoods racially homogeneous and limited opportunities for people of color in housing markets. One key policy was racial zoning, which was introduced in the early 20th century. Racial zoning laws sought to designate specific neighborhoods for white residents while excluding Black, Latino, and Asian communities from living in those areas. These laws were often justified on the grounds of preserving property values and maintaining social order. They were particularly prevalent in the 1910s and 1920s and applied in several cities across the United States, including San Diego. In practice, racial zoning dictated that white families could only buy homes in white majority neighborhoods, while communities of color were restricted and designated to colored zones. Through the U.S. Supreme Court ruled racial zoning laws were unconstitutional in 1917. The idea of racial segregation in neighborhoods continued to persist through other means, though. Another method of legal segregation was restrictive covenants. These were private agreements included in property deeds or neighborhood association rules that prevented homeowners from selling or renting to people of certain racial and ethnic backgrounds. Restrictive covenants were introduced in the early 20th century and became widely used in the 1920s and 30s as an alternative to racial zoning after it was deemed unconstitutional. They were legally enforceable, meaning that if a homeowner violated these covenants by selling to someone of a different racial or ethnicity that was not permitted, it could lead to lawsuits or loss of property rights. These covenants were particularly prominent in neighborhoods like La Jolla, North Park, Mission Hills, where there was primarily white families who sought to keep out Black, Latino, and Jewish families. The legacy of segregation in San Diego. The impact of these policies is still visible in the city today. Historically marginalized neighborhoods such as Logan Heights, City Heights, and southeastern San Diego continue to face challenges like lower property values, higher unemployment rates, and fewer resources for education and healthcare. On the other hand, more affluent neighborhoods like La Jolla, Carmel Valley, and Coronado have benefited from decades of this investment, reinforcing the wealth gap and perpetual segregation. So what are the current regeneration efforts? Despite this long history of segregation, San Diego is taking steps to address these issues. One of the key initiatives is the City Heights Redevelopment Project. This project aims to revitalize the City Heights neighborhood by improving infrastructure, expanding affordable housing, and increasing access to public transportation. The goal is to provide residents with better job opportunities, improve public services, and to integrate the community more fully into the city's economic fabric. Moving forward, solutions and future goals. Well, firstly, environmental inequalities also play a role in the segregation of San Diego. The city's Green New Deal focuses on addressing these disparities by promoting sustainable development and investing in neighborhoods that have been historically disinvested. This includes investing in green spaces, improving air quality, and ensuring that all communities have access to clean water and energy-efficient infrastructure. That would be what I would do if I was the mayor of San Diego. I would also prioritize affordable housing development in historically segregated neighborhoods to ensure a greater access to quality education and healthcare, and to focus on community-led urban regeneration. One initiative that could be targeted is the effort to fund local businesses in neighborhoods that have faced historical disinvestment. Additionally, I would also push for further public transportation expansion. In conclusion, while San Diego may have made strides to addressing this impact of past segregation policies, there's still much work to be done. The legacy of redlining and other discriminatory practices continue to affect neighborhoods today. But though targeted urban regeneration efforts like in City Heights redevelopment projects, the Green New Deal, and the investment in San Diego's historically marginalized communities, San Diego can take a step forward in overcoming its past and creating a more equitable city for all residents. Thank you, and here are my references.